So more about CodeBehind. If you want to do a debugging, start without debugging like we did. You can also debug your applications here, your web applications. That's great too. But if you want to start without debugging or start with debugging, you have to actually set a start page. And that means you just have to right click on something over here and set that as your start page. We really don't have a start page here, but you can set anything really to be your start page. And that's just going to be the start referencing point when you run your project, like your default page, if you want to do that. So I'm not doing that, but you can do that if you want to. Create a regular HTML page and link to everything too if you want to. But continuing with our CodeBehind, we'll look at HTML form controls behind, and we'll look at the difference between this and the other one, just to let you know. It's very similar. Of course, there are more advanced things you can do with this, but this is really getting you started here. And I think the important thing is to start using C# in great ways within ASP.NET, because I think it's ideal for working with ASP.NET. A lot of processing power that you can work with. So we look at our CodeBehind version, and we look at the regular version. Regular version, we have this here. You just see we have button clicks there. That's all we're doing in this script area. And the CodeBehind version, this is behind us in the page. We just look really quickly. That CS file with the same file name, we're going here to inherit our test because I just called it test. Just called it test. You don't have to do that. You can call it a similar name to what the page is, but since this is all ad hoc reference stuff that we're working on, that's how it's going to be working. And you can look at all the files here to see the different files that you can work with. You can right click and view code as well, but I like to see what my files are. And additionally, you can see you have a resource file too, because you know Visual Studio likes to add that resource file to do all the work that it needs to do. Double click on that. You can even double click on the resource file. This is going to be XML, so it's going to be displayed differently. So it's up to you how you want to interpret that and work with that, but that's how it's going to be displayed. I wouldn't go messing around with that resource file, but you can look around in it and just see how it looks, and don't mess around with it too much or at all. So we just named it test. You can name that class whatever you want to, but then you have to change that reference in the regular page, not the behind the page. Wherever that would be here, right here. So change that class reference, because you're referencing that class. That page is inheriting from this class, just like this class is inheriting from system.web.ui.page. Just looks a little different. Same thing, we have protected variables that are going to hold the different controls that we have on our page. And look at that, we have a page load, and just like that, we just have our on clicks. So you can see the relationship between the two. It's really just the same thing. Instead of having script tags, it's over here. And it's a lot neater, a lot easier to look at, a lot easier to reference. You can do some advanced things, and if you're working with Visual Studio, you get a lot of extra help. And you see that event here needs to be created here. Certain things are going to be allowed or referenced within the .NET universe, and then other things you have to actually create explicitly to state what that name is going to be. So that's our page load, and that's how that works. So lots of similarities. You want to keep the same namespace, and all your classes can represent that. And you can see that they're protected with those instance variables, and it's very helpful to be doing that. You might want to take a look at some earlier C# videos if you need more information on the access modifiers and other things. So you can run these as you want to. They're here for you. You can see the difference between the HTML table and the behind table is the same thing. It's just going to be generated differently. It's just going to use CodeBehind and not CodeBehind. So it's the same thing. Gets presented the same way, no differences. So enjoy ASP.NET, enjoy C#. I encourage you to do a lot more things. Of course, you can get more into forms and things like that. This is really to show you the differences between working with ASP to ASP.NET, getting started, learning and working with C# more and more, and to get you started with the whole thing. We could talk all day long for a while about ASP.NET and all the great things that you can do with it, as well as just about everything else, including ADO.NET and things like that. So feel free, jump in, get started.